Ready?
All right, let's start then. Sure.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
And I guess we can
shall we
start
start?
then.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Welcome everyone. I am Rotator Anish from Rotec Club of Bharuch, and I humbly welcome you all to this event where we'll learn about health, wealth, and environmental sustainability uh, via diet purification with our esteemed speaker. And to welcome you all, I would like to invite our Rotary President of Rotary Club of Bharuch President, Mr. Talkin Zamindar. Please have a stage, sir.
Warm greetings to all. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all on behalf of Rotary Club of Bharuch, Rotary Club, and Innerville Club of Bharuch. We are grateful with great pleasure welcome our esteemed guest speaker, internationally acclaimed Dr. Vikram. Thank you for your valued presence, sir, with early hours of 8 a.m. and live from US. It is a pleasure to be associated with GNC Sports Club, GNC Golf Club, and dear MIPRIC members. We welcome you all. We also welcome our different Rotary district dignitaries, invited guests, and dear Rotarian, Rotators, and Innerville Club members. I would especially like to thank N. Sujata Rao for all the coordination with our guest speaker, Dr. Vikram, for this seminar. Thank you, Sujata ma'am. As for this event, often we see purification or detox as a solitary pursuit, something we have to muscle up for do it alone. But the truth is that it will be easier and healthier if you find a way to integrate your friends and family into the experience. It is not a short-term diet, but more a long-term lifestyle change. So for us all, let's go of toxic control in order to regain healthy control and start our diet purification. So welcome you all to this inspiring seminar to be motivated to face the challenges in these ever-evolving times with good health. Thank you. We welcome you, sir. Over to the AMOC. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There he was the Rotary Club President, Mr. Talkin Zamindar. And now I would like to invite uh, to introduce our guest speaker, Miss N. Sujata Rao, to introduce this guest speaker. Your stage, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone, and good morning to all the US friends. Welcome, Dr. Vikram. I have the pleasure to introduce you. Dr. Vikram Pattarkine is the CEO of Peace USA, an independent consulting firm set up to provide environmental facilitating strategies and solutions to investor groups and clients around the world. He has a master's degree in chemical engineering from Nagpur University and PhD in environmental engineering from Virginia Tech, USA. Dr. Vikram has been nominated on several prestigious and professional committees as an expert on nutrient management, energy conservation, and renewable energy. He has authored peer-reviewed papers and numerous technical reports. He has conducted many training programs and made presentations in conferences worldwide. Dr. Vikram is one of the founders of Sattva Life, where experience with living in harmony with nature is shared through diet purification, leading to mind purification. Many people have achieved vibrant health and overcome their lifestyle challenges under his mentorship and guidance. Dr. Vikram has made a study on how Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta principles can be applied and experienced in our daily life. He has been a yoga practitioner for 4 decades and regularly teaches those interested. He is a music connoisseur and has organized several classical musical concerts. He follows and actively promotes a lifestyle based on nature's natural plant-based diet for both personal health and plant sustainability. He plays table tennis regularly for physical fitness. He loves cricket and watches it whenever he is able to. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite on behalf of Rotary Club of Bharuch, Innerville Bharuch, and Rotary Club of Bharuch, our esteemed speaker. Over to you, sir. Vikram, sir.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you, Sister Sujata, for your introduction. and thank you for welcoming me here. It is a pleasure to be here. I will try to share my screen here so that you will see what I'm presenting. My presentation will be approximately 30 to 40 minutes, and then thereafter we'll take questions. So until then, if you keep your microphones on mute, will be nice. So you should now see on your screen health, well-being, and environmental sustainability through diet purification. That is our topic today. Before I start my presentation, I always like to give a disclaimer. The information I present is only for information. It is not providing any medical advice. Any material I present here is for your information and not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider. You should always consult your doctor before you do anything. Okay. I'm presenting only my personal experience and I don't assume any liability. Also, I don't expect you will agree with everything I say. You may or may not agree with what I say. From my presentation, you should take what suits you, what suits your specific situation, and you may let go of the rest. So if you don't agree with me, I will not be offended because we are here to search the truth for ourselves. Okay. You don't have to believe anybody. You don't have to believe me either. You have to trust your own experience. So we will talk about some definitions, fundamental principles, how to maintain good health. I'll talk about natural food, benefits, then some takeaways, don'ts and do's, then real life experiences of my friends, as well as I'll share my experience. We'll talk about environmental and social impact, and then some concluding remarks. So hopefully this will last for about 30 to 40 minutes, so you won't get too bored. So let's go through some definitions. When I say health, well-being, and environmental protection through diet purification, what are these three things? What is health? Health is a state of being free from illness or injury. It is a person's mental or physical condition and a sense of ease and equilibrium. These are the standard definitions you will get in any book or a source of information like Wikipedia. But health is something we have to experience from within. Health is not something you will rely only on numbers. If you are well from within, then your numbers will also be good. Okay. What is well-being? It's a state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy at all three levels: physical level, body level, then the mind level, the mental level or emotional level, and the spiritual level, the absolute self level. All right. Then what is environment? Environment is defined as the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operates. That's the standard definition. From our traditional point of view, we look at the environment as made up of 5 fundamental elements: Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi. So space, air, energy, water, and earth. So basically matter and energy. And matter and energy live in space or are housed in space. So space is all encompassing, and within the space, matter will be either solid, liquid, or gas, and there will be energy. So these are the 5 fundamental elements. Now, what is environmental sustainability? It's living in harmony with nature. Whatever is around us, that should not be antagonistic towards us, and we should not be antagonistic towards it. Okay. The ability to exist constantly, that is what environmental sustainability means. So our quality of life should not degrade over time. If at all, it should improve rather than degrade. And the capacity for the biosphere and human civilization to coexist. These are the several definitions of environmental sustainability. You can look them up anywhere. Okay. We also talk about sustainable development. In the environmental field, sustainable development has been a buzzword, which is defined as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we cannot really extract or exploit resources from nature or from the earth in such a way that future generations will be not able to meet their own needs. So that's not the way we should develop at all. Okay. Now let's look at what we call as assimilative capacity. It is the ability of the environment or a portion of the environment or an ecosystem to carry waste material without adverse effect on the environment or on users of its resources. That is the assimilative capacity. You see, before the invention of the steam engine, whatever was being produced on earth, either by nature or by human beings, all of that was being assimilated by earth itself. Okay. So whatever was being generated, it was being utilized and it was being constantly recycled. So there was no such thing called waste. But after the steam engine was invented, after the industrial revolution, we have been producing things at such an alarming rate that the earth has not been able to assimilate everything that we generate. Okay. So not everything is completely recycled. So there is something called waste and nature does not know how to transform that further. So assimilative capacity is exceeded. So pollution occurs when the assimilative capacity of an ecosystem is exceeded. Now let's talk about certain fundamental principles about nature. We should understand this about nature, then we will understand how we will live in harmony with it. Okay. So first of all, nature exhibits perfect design. There are no mistakes. There may be occasional manufacturing defects, like some people will be born with certain deformities and so on, but those are very rare. Nature wants us to be in balance at all times. Okay. Organisms appear in ecosystems suitable for them. So in the Gita, there is a shlok called Annad Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyadanna Sambhava. It says that food or the environmental condition appears first, and then the organism appropriate for that environmental condition will appear in that ecosystem. So for example, a lot of us have children, right? Children don't just happen at random. Only when the uterus of the mother is ready to receive the sperm, only then a child will happen. Otherwise, it will not happen. Okay. A lot of us, may try to have children, but nature doesn't will it in that manner. So therefore, we should be very careful and we should understand and we should know that organisms will appear in an ecosystem only when the ecosystem is ready and suitable for them. Now, all of these organisms, all natural organisms are naturally programmed for survival and propagation. Only then they will appear in that ecosystem. Only when food is available, then the organism will appear so that it can survive as well as propagate. Every organism knows where to go and find appropriate food. Okay? You don't have to teach any organism where to go find the food. Even a baby will know where to go and find its food. So the baby knows how to suck the mother's milk the day it is born. Okay. Also, as a student of ecosystems and environmental science, I have learned that every organism has a beneficial role in the ecosystem. The organism will appear in the ecosystem to actually clean up the ecosystem and help the ecosystem. All right. A healthy ecosystem will exhibit biodiversity and balance among species. So various species, various organisms will live in balance with each other. That is what nature exhibits. Now, we all know that all living organisms seek health and well-being. Don't we all? We all want to be healthy. We all want to be well. Okay. Now, nature has programmed all the organisms for health. So our natural condition is for health. Nature will want us to be healthy and will keep us healthy, which is essential for our survival and propagation. Okay. Now, health and well-being depend upon healthy food, healthy environment, and harmony amongst organisms and their environment. Only then health and well-being will happen. Otherwise, it will not. Okay. So how do we maintain good health? For maintaining good health, we have to have appropriate food, appropriate exercise, appropriate work, appropriate recreation, and appropriate rest. So all of these have to be appropriate. You cannot do one thing in excess and another thing not adequate. So everything has to be both adequate and not in excess. That is the rule. Okay. So what about food? What role does food play in all this? Okay. See, we should understand that no creature other than Homo sapiens cooks its food. Have you seen any other animal cooking its food? No. We are the only creatures who cook our food. Now, cooking will enhance the flavor and digestibility of some food. So, for example, if you want to eat rice, you will not have the patience to keep the rice grain in your mouth long enough to be able to digest it. So, it is easier to cook, better to cook. Okay. But some natural things, especially the things you see on this plate here, if you cook these things, the cooking process will decrease the nutritional and energy value of the food. Then what will happen? See, our nutritional requirement or the energy requirement is the same, or it depends upon our activity level or our age or our health condition and things like that, right? So to fulfill that energy and nutritional requirement, we will have to eat more quantity, which will mean that our eating process has become less efficient. So when we eat natural food, what happens? See, first of all, let me define what natural food means. See, natural food is food produced through photosynthesis. So whatever nature grows, nature produces naturally without any input. Okay. What is that food? That is basically 4 different items. One is fruits and the other is seeds. So nuts and seeds are together. Seeds and nuts are both the same thing. Even grains are basically seeds of the plants. Okay. Then vegetables. And since raw seeds cannot be eaten, so for example, moong dal, you would want to sprout it or soak it at least. Okay. So these are the natural foods that are defined as natural food. Okay. Then these natural foods will always contain enzymes. See, every biological material contains enzymes to auto digest itself. So when we eat natural food, then the enzymes necessary to digest that food will come with the food itself. Then we will not have to synthesize those enzymes within us. So our digestion process becomes more efficient. Okay. Also, since we don't cook the food, then we don't spend energy in cooking it. Therefore, the process of cooking the food is completely avoided. So the process of eating the food, consuming the food, and digesting it, all of that becomes completely energy efficient. And once we are used to eating natural food, then we realize that natural food is juicy, tasty, and full of life energy. So in less quantity of food, you will get more energy. That is what my experience has been. And this experience has been obtained by many, many people. Okay. What are the health benefits of eating mostly natural food? Number one is disease reversal. Okay. So when we eat natural food, whatever diseases we may have, those diseases are reversed. In my case also, diseases were reversed. I will show you some photographs of friends whose diseases were reversed. Body weight and body mass index, okay? Blood sugar, blood cholesterol, blood pressure, heart rate, all of these are normalized. Okay? A lot of us suffer from these things going out of balance. Okay? Excessive body weight, excessive sugar, excessive cholesterol, all of these things happen to many of us. So all of these things are reversed. Okay? Once we are on a mostly natural diet, then sickness is very rare. So you don't get sick very often. And even if you do get sick because of some external cause, if you get an infection or whatever, then the recovery is very quick. Okay. I'm not saying that you will not get sick at all, but if you get sick, you will recover much faster because your immunity is much better. I've seen that happen in the case of many people. So once I switched on to a mostly natural diet, in my case, in the first year, I had cold maybe twice. Okay. And on both occasions, it lasted less than 24 hours. Earlier, when I was eating all kinds of food, then if I got a cold, then it would last at least for a week and bother me for a week. So that, and in the last 2 or 3 years, I have not really got sick at all. For the last 2.5 years, I have not got sick. Okay. See, what happens when we eat natural food, or mostly natural food, is we get a healthy gut microbiome. You see, in our gut, there are trillions of bacteria. In fact, in our entire body, there are more microbial cells than our own cells if we keep eating a huge amount of food. Okay, then what will happen? If there are more bacterial cells and fewer my own cells, then if we live in democracy these days, is it not? So if you take a democratic election of one cell, one vote, then I will always be in minority government. And you know that minority government is not stable. It can fall anytime. That's exactly what happens to us because the microbial population in our body overpowers us. Okay. Now we want this microbial population to be beneficial to us and to be friendly towards us. That is very, very important. Okay. How does that happen? See, if we eat our food and if we digest it completely, then what will happen? Whatever is left over will be consumed by such microorganisms as are not antagonistic towards us. So our body will not be fighting with them because they are eating what we cannot eat anyway. All right. But if we eat our food and don't digest it completely, then on that partially digested food, those microorganisms will grow, which our body will think as enemies because we are both competing for the same food. In that case, what will happen? Our body will try to kill them. Our body kills microorganisms through inflammation. Okay, so our body's immune response gets activated. That generates inflammation. And if you ask any modern doctor, he will tell you that any and all lifestyle diseases are caused because of inflammation. So if we can reduce inflammation in our body, then all of our lifestyle diseases will be reversed. Promise. Okay. When we eat natural food and eat food only as much as it is adequate for our body, then our mucus levels are reduced. I can tell you from my personal experience that I used to have all kinds of allergies because of high mucus levels in the body. Okay. All of those allergies completely disappeared. I used to sneeze quite a bit all the time. I used to sneeze, but I don't sneeze at all anymore. I will sneeze only if there is a real need to sneeze. So if something goes into my nose and the body has to throw it off, then I will sneeze. So that is not an allergic reaction. That is a normal reaction of the body. Allergy means even when beneficial things will trigger that kind of reaction. So our body loses the discrimination to know what is good and what is bad. That is called allergy. Okay. When we are on mostly natural food, our body flexibility is improved. I will show you some photographs of yogasana I'm able to do even at this age. You will be surprised. Oral hygiene is improved. So you will not believe, but when I get up in the morning, there is no need to brush the teeth because it feels so fresh. I mean, I will brush anyway, but there is no need because the mouth is very fresh. So oral hygiene is improved. When I go to the dentist, the young lady who cleans the teeth, she doesn't have to do more than 5 minutes worth of work. And she says, you know, your teeth are so good, I don't have to do much work. But of course, the dentist gets full fee because every time you go to the dentist's office, the dentist will charge you and they get the full fee, but they don't have to do as much work. So they are happy with patients like us, isn't it? Your skin becomes clear and glowing. That change has been experienced by everybody who has followed these guidelines. Okay. Body odor is reduced. So therefore you don't have to use the deodorants and things like that. Okay. Now let's look at some practical advantages. I told you the health benefits, but what are the practical advantages? You see, the food requirement is lower because the food is rich with nutrition and energy. You don't have to eat as much food. So your body does not have to process as much material. So if you eat less food and absorb most of it into your body, then the waste generation will be less, isn't it? So if we eat more food and generate more waste, what will happen? Our body will essentially become a garbage manufacturing machine. Are we a garbage manufacturing machine? No. Our body is meant for something much higher than that. Okay. When we eat nutritious food, natural food, food that is full of life energy, then our sleep quantity is reduced. And because we sleep less, our productivity is higher. See, I am a consultant. So for me, every hour is worth money. Okay. So the more hours I can work, the more money I could potentially earn, isn't it? Or you don't have to earn money, but you can get more out of your life. We have not come on this earth to sleep away. Okay. We have come here to live. All right. Less sleep, but better sleep. So the sleep quantity is less, but the quality is much better. So even in 5 or 6 hours of sleep, you will feel rejuvenated. So you will not feel like sleeping beyond. See, in my case, I go to bed around 10 o'clock or before 10, and I naturally wake up by 4 or 4:30. I don't have to keep lying in the bed and lazing around. I just wake up. When I wake up, I get up and I do my yogasana and all those things. All right. I travel internationally. There is no jet lag. So in my case, after switching to a mostly natural diet, jet lag has reduced. Okay. And you save time because you don't have to cook. And because you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean the dishes. So you save time in that as well. All right. You save on fuel because you don't cook your food. And cooking skills are not necessary. So therefore, I am not afraid to go to your house because you don't have to cook for me, first of all. And I'm not afraid of your cooking. So you can cook whatever you want and you can eat. But I will eat mostly natural food, only fruits and nuts. So therefore, you are not afraid to invite me to your house. And I'm not afraid to go to anybody's house. Now let's look at some don'ts and do's. Okay. So first, we should know what not to do. See, even in yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 steps of yoga. Okay. First is yama and second is niyama. Yama means what not to do. And second is niyama means what to do. Even when we are learning to drive a car, we should know where the brake is first. Only then can we drive fast. Okay. So we should know what not to do. So first of all, we should not make any sudden changes in diet. Okay. Secondly, we should not eat unless we are hungry. That is the first and foremost rule we have to follow in our life. We should not consume anything unless we really need it, and we should not consume it beyond the need level. All right. Then we should not drink unless thirsty. Thirdly, we should not eat more than 2 meals a day. When we become adults beyond the age of 25, we don't really need to eat more than twice a day. All right. If we are playing test cricket and 3 sessions a day and so on, then you may need to eat more than twice a day, but that's okay. That's because of the lifestyle. But most people, most middle class people, most people who work in offices most of the day, they don't move around much. They don't do much physical exercise. They don't need to eat more than twice a day. All right. Then don't eat past the first burp. See, what happens is when we are eating, when we are hungry, when we are really hungry, and we start eating slowly, in about 15 to 20 minutes, what will happen? The space in the stomach or the air in the stomach will compress. Okay, so once the air gets 50% compressed, so from 100% to 50%, then what will happen? The air will be expelled. Where will the air go? We will burp. So once that first burp is experienced, we should stop eating. That means that our body is telling us that half the stomach is full with food. Now we want to keep the remaining portion of the stomach empty for digestive juices and air, because digestive juices will keep getting secreted into the stomach. So we want to make sure, see, all the sisters in our group will know that when they are making a chutney in their mixer, what they do is they don't fill up the entire pot with dhania, coconut, and masala. They fill it up only 50%. And they add a little bit of water and then they mix it. Then the chutney becomes smooth and the chutney gets ground properly. That is exactly what happens in our stomach. So we should never eat more than 50% capacity of the stomach. Okay. That is indicated by the first burp. So when we burp once, we should stop. Or when we get a feeling of getting fullness, you should stop. Okay. Then we should not eat snacks between meals. You should listen to one Dr. Jagannath Dikshit in Maharashtra who has done extensive research in this area. If we eat snacks, then our insulin gets secreted in the body. Our body will become insulin resistant and then our fat will increase. We don't want to do that. So therefore, whenever we are hungry, we sit down and eat a proper meal. Whenever we are hungry again, the second time, we sit down and eat a proper meal. That's how we should conduct our diet discipline. I think somebody has unmuted themselves, so I'm going to try to mute everybody once again. Okay, so, and then the third thing is avoid stimulants. Let me go back here because hold on, let me go up a bit. Okay, so avoid stimulants, intoxicants, drugs, refined sugar and refined flour and refined anything. Eat everything natural as best as you can. Whatever flour we grind ourselves in the chakki in front of our house, that is the flour we should use, not the flour we get in a packet in the grocery store, because we don't know how long ago they ground it in the factory. We should not do that. Okay. And we should avoid animal derived products. They are not good for us. Okay. We can have a little bit of them as medicine, but not in excess. All right. So after knowing what not to do, we should know what to do. So we should eat mostly natural food, as much natural food as we can. We should eat local and seasonal food. Okay. Because that is good for us. Whatever grows locally and whatever is sold locally. So transportation cost is less. The transportation environmental impact is less. And whatever is seasonal is good for us. That is why nature is growing that for us to consume that in that season. So whatever grows in any season, we should make that as 50% of our total food intake. Okay. Also, luckily, whatever grows locally and seasonally is cheap. So go to the market and see whatever is the cheapest. That is best for us. That you should eat at least 50% of your total diet every season. Okay. Then whatever food we must cook, even if we have to cook our food, if we cannot live on totally natural food, then make that food very simple. So you start with rice and beans. Okay, local grains, local beans. Cook them from scratch. Cook them in an open pot. Don't cook them in a pressure cooker. Okay, and eat that food within an hour of cooking, because that's when it retains most of its nutritional value and energy value or life value. Okay, life energy. So that life energy goes away once you cook the food is dead. Okay, don't wait for too long before you consume it. All right, we should eat our meals during sunlight hours, so between sunrise and sunset, ideally when the sun's energy or the sun's power in the sky is the highest, because our own digestive fire and the digestion in our body corresponds with the place of the sun in the sky. So ideally we should eat our meals between 10 and 2. The main meal of the day has to be between 10 and 2. Okay, and another meal you can eat if you are hungry. So normally I end up eating a breakfast around say 8 or between 8 and 9, and then I end up eating my lunch between 1 and 2, and thereafter I don't eat until the next morning again between 8 and 9. Okay, so yesterday I finished my lunch around 3 o'clock. I ate at 2, so between 2 and 3 I ate, and then since 3 o'clock now it is almost 9 o'clock, I have not had anything at all. Okay, I just had a little bit of water, that's all. So when we fast overnight for 16 plus hours, that's when our body gets detoxified every day. Okay, so if we maintain a pattern of eating in an 8-hour window, twice within an 8-hour window, maximum twice, and fast for 16 plus hours overnight, then our body remains clean from within. So I told you about the Ashtanga Yoga and the Yam and Niyam. So the Niyam, one of the first Niyam, the first thing we must do is called Shaucha. Shaucha means cleanliness. Cleanliness is not just of our surroundings, but cleanliness of also our body, not only the external body, not only our skin, but also within the body. That Internal cleanliness happens through upavas or through fasting. Okay. We should maintain a regular routine of work, exercise, meal times, recreation, and rest. Yuktahara viharasya. That is a fundamental shlok in Gita. In the 6th chapter, Bhagavan says, Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukhaha. All right. So we have to maintain a regular routine of work, exercise, meal times, recreation, and rest. We have to sleep before 10 p.m. because beyond 10 p.m., if we stay up, then the body doesn't get as much rest as it would get if we go to bed before 10 o'clock. Okay. So we should all try to go to bed before 10 o'clock. We should do regular exercise and we should do stretching. See, especially when we are converting from a mostly cooked food or mostly processed diet to a mostly natural diet, our weight will go down. Okay. Our weight will become more normal. So if we are overweight and if we are going to lose weight, then it is essential that we do stretches. Otherwise, our skin will sag. And what better way to do stretches than to do Surya Namaskar or the sun salutation? I'll show you a picture of that. That helps us keep our skin tone proper. Okay. We should also pick up a sport or a hobby of our choice. I'm told that a number of our participants here regularly play something or at least go play golf. Golf is also an excellent hobby. Okay. This is a picture or a whole collage of Surya Namaskar poses I do every day. I try to do about 50 of them every morning. This is the Namaskarasana. Then you stretch backwards and breathe in. Then you stretch forwards or bend forwards and touch your palms next to your feet. So in this case, you can see that my entire palm is touching the floor, not just the hands. So the waist can bend to the extent that the head will go below the knees. All right. So this is how flexible the spine is. Then the next pose, take one foot or one leg back. Okay. And then look up. So the body becomes again curved to the back. Here you breathe in. Then you take the other leg back in Dandasana. So here the body is completely straight line. It's like a plank. You breathe out. While your breath is out, you go down in what is called the Sashtanga Namaskar. In the Sashtanga Namaskar, 8 angas are touching the floor, but not the buttocks. Okay, because our genitals should not touch the floor. When we are praying or bowing down to a deity, it is insulting to touch our genitals to the floor. So we should always do Namaskar in this manner. All right. So this is the Sashtanga Namaskar. Thereafter, we do Bhujangasana or the Cobra pose where the back is again bent. We breathe in here. See, in this Ashtanga Namaskar, our breath is out. So to the deity, we are completely surrendering and everything from our body has been expelled, including the air. So we have become completely empty. That's how we surrender to the deity of our choice. All right. Then in the Bhujangasana, we breathe in. In Shvanasana or the dog pose, we breathe out. Here, the heels are touching the floor again. All right. Then again, you repeat the same pose as here, but with the opposite leg. So whichever leg went back first comes up first. Then again, you repeat the second pose here, or this pose is repeated here. Again, you breathe out here, and here you come back to the Namaskarasana, this first pose, and you breathe in. So this is the entire routine of the Surya Namaskar. Okay. If we do this exercise every day, I can promise you that you will remain healthy throughout your life. All right. Please don't unmute yourself until I finish my presentation so that after that we will take questions. Okay. All right. So after doing all this, what can happen? See, once you convert from mostly junk food a lot of times in a day to mostly natural food only twice a day, then here is the example of my good friend Vinay Pai, who at age 52 was able to lose his weight, inches from waist, acidity, snoring, negativity, and finally his urge to consume alcohol. He was drinking alcohol for almost 30 years regularly. Every night he would drink. But he quit on his own because he didn't feel like drinking anymore. All right. I didn't tell him to quit drinking. When he first told me, Doctor, I want to reduce my weight. And I said, okay, go on mostly natural diet and eat only when you are hungry. But he says, no, I feel like drinking. I said, okay, keep drinking. Until your own mind tells you that you should quit drinking, you should do what your mind tells you. See, if you do something against the wishes of your mind, then the mind will feel like you are in jail and you will feel like breaking that jail. Don't do that. You should do things only when your mind is ready to listen to you. Okay, so you should do things willingly. You should not do because somebody is telling you. You should do because you are convinced that doing this way is going to help you. Only then you will do it. And once you experience how it feels, then on your own you will take the next step. All right. His heart ailment was reversed. His lifestyle has changed completely. Okay. Another friend of mine, Devang Bhai Karia, he used to weigh 104. He became 73 kgs in 6 months. Okay. So this thing happens. This thing will happen. There is no doubt about it. Okay. It has to happen. He switched to a mostly natural diet and eats only twice a day. He does all kinds of upavas, all kinds of fasting. Okay. In 6 months, he was able to run marathon. He can run 10 kilometers in 60 minutes. See, in 60 minutes, most of us will find it difficult to even walk 4 kilometers. So after being 104 kg, after being on mostly natural diet, eating only twice a day, he lost 31 kilograms. Okay, that's a phenomenal experience. Another friend of mine, Bharat Bhai Kothari, who lives in New York, he was a pre-diabetic and diabetic for 8 years. He was eating medicines. Okay, when he switched to a natural diet, constituted a lot of natural food along with freshly cooked food, he managed to get rid of medicines completely. And without medicines, his diabetes was reversed. His A1C used to be 6.4 to 6.6%. It has gone down to 5.2%. His cholesterol used to be 144 milligrams per deciliter. It used to be beyond 200. It came down to 144. He does not take any medicines now. See, this happened in his early 60s. All right. So even at that age, you can reverse your illnesses. Dr. Navandar from Amravati, age 63, he used to weigh 70 kilograms. He went down to 62. From 154 pounds to 137 pounds. His diabetes is gone. His hair turned darker. Energy level is very high. Healing ability is outstanding. He was on natural diet for 6 months. He did not turn the gas on at all for 6 months. Completely natural. This happens. This can happen. Now, after telling everybody else's story, I'm telling you my own story. So if you look at these two photographs, you will think that these are two different people. And indeed, it feels like two different people to me also. When I look at my own photograph of November 2017, I myself get scared. So please mute yourself because I can hear your background noise, please. All right. So in November 2017, I used to weigh 80 kilograms. My waist was 36 inches. In 3 months, it went down to 31 inches. I reduced 12 kilograms, okay, 26 pounds. Right now, I weigh anywhere between 65 and 68. So I have maintained this for 3 years. Okay. I started this as an experiment. I said I will reduce my weight by eating mostly natural. So I kept on reducing the quantity of cooked food and increase the percentage of natural food starting November. So starting October of 2017. So by 31st of December 2017, it was 100% natural and 0% cooked. So I said, okay, let me do an experiment now, 100% natural for 2 weeks. You will not believe, within 10 days, there was a completely different glow on my face. The skin changed, the face changed, and then within another 5 or 6 weeks, the entire personality changed. And thereafter, I have not felt like eating cooked food at all. So I eat mostly natural food. So every now and then I will eat cooked food. If there is some puja in the house and there is a prasad or something, then I will eat the offering. But most of my food is natural. In fact, most of my food these days is fruits and nuts. Okay. My blood pressure went down from 130/90 to 170. Post meal blood sugar went down from 150 plus to less than 100. Cholesterol went down from 200 plus to less than 150. So all of these things happen naturally. This happened to me at age 56. Now I'm running 60. So this can happen. People had told me that once you cross 50, then your tummy will never go down. That theory was proven wrong in my own experience. Okay. Look at the flexibility, strength, and balance. This is possible even today at age 60. Okay. This is almost like magic, but it happens. Why do we do yoga? See, we do yoga because it can help us maintain lifelong health and fitness. There is no reason to live too long, but however long we live, we should live healthy. Okay, we should not be a burden on others. So, for our own sake and for our family's sake, we should maintain fitness, isn't it? So, yoga helps us in that goal. It makes us still, it makes our mind still serene and peaceful and blissful. So, we feel an inner joy rather than trying to seek happiness from outside things or people. Desha, Kala, Vastu, Vyakti, Paristhiti. Our happiness is not dependent upon these five things. We are serene and blissful from within. It helps us realize who we are. Okay. It helps eliminate the sense of otherness we have within us. Okay. When I don't have a sense of otherness within me, then I consider each and every person as either my brother or sister, which leads to a peaceful society and a peaceful environment. This is what happens. So how does it help the environment now? See, environmental conservation was one item in the title, right? So if we advertise something and if we don't talk about it, then it is cheating, isn't it? How is environment benefited? So this is the beneficial environmental and social impact of eating mostly natural food. See, if we eat mostly fruits, then the farmer will want to plant fruit trees, isn't it? Large fruit trees will provide shade and habitat for birds. Okay, so it helps reduce what we call the dhoop of the soil. So the soil doesn't become too hot. That is what happens when we have large fruit trees because they have shade. They also help conserve groundwater. Okay, trees will help conserve groundwater. Now, vegetarian diet is low carbon footprint. So when we eat vegetarian food, then the carbon dioxide emission in the atmosphere is reduced compared with the meat-based diet. This has been proven all over the world. So take my word for it. You can look it up also. And when we eat natural food, then the carbon footprint is even lower than the vegetarian diet. Okay. So on the natural diet, the footprint is extremely low. When there is a demand for fresh fruit, then the farmer is incentivized to plant fruit trees. Okay. And therefore, the farmer can get long-term income without having to do too much maintenance. See, for the rice or the wheat crop or any other crop, seasonal crop, you have to babysit it. You have to pay a lot of attention. But for the fruit trees, once you plant the fruit trees, then you don't have to worry too much about it. Right? They will keep giving you fruit for many years to come. So for less maintenance, less headache, you get better income. So the farmer is incentivized to plant fruit trees. So it helps not only us, it helps my own health, it helps the health of the planet, and it helps the farmer. So it helps both health, well-being, economy, and environment. How's that? So to learn all of these things firsthand, we run a program called Sattva. Okay, there is a startup I have started along with two other people, two of my sisters who are in Pune. Hopefully they are on this webinar also. In the Sattva program, we take people through a 30-day journey with us, okay, in which we share with them our experience and we take them with us on a journey of diet purification that leads to mind purification and ultimately to self-realization. Okay. It will not happen in 30 days. Okay. In 30 days, you will only learn the techniques. Then you have to maintain that lifestyle throughout your life. That is what the Sattva program does. If you have an ailment for which you need an Ayurvedic physician, one of my sisters happens to be here. She is local. Okay. Her name is Vaidya Vandana Dhammani. You should talk to her if you have any ailment. Okay. But if you want to maintain a lifestyle, then you should learn how to maintain that lifestyle, and you can learn that while sitting at your home, because we run this program online. So you should learn about this. You should save this email as well as the phone number and the website address, and check it out whenever you wish to consult with us. We do a free consultation for 15 minutes whenever people want to consult with us for their specific personal problems. All right. Finally, concluding remarks. Nature has blessed us with the capacity and capability to enjoy health and well-being. We should all enjoy that. Okay. We should follow nature's laws to remain healthy and disease-free and be happy. So thank you very much for listening to me with so much patience. Now we will try to ask people to unmute themselves. First, you raise your hand, unmute yourself, and then ask question. Rajesh Malpani, I see you are unmuted already. So why don't you ask a question if you have any question? Otherwise, you can mute yourself. Rajesh, are you there? So anyhow, I'm going to.
We have a question in the chat for you. And
Go ahead,
I'll
please.
read it out for the audience. The question is, if you do not eat cooked food, what do you have for lunch and dinner? This is from Frida.
Great. Thank you for asking this question. The pictures that you saw in this presentation, all of these pictures are either my breakfast or my lunch. Okay. Sometimes, as I said, occasionally I will eat cooked food when there is a puja in the house and there is a offering. So then everybody eats that offering, right? So I usually end up eating that as a prasad. Okay. So as soon as we cook, we offer it to the deity and then we eat. So that happens relatively rarely. Most of the time, in fact, I would say 95% of my food is natural. And out of that, I would say 80% is fruits and some nuts and some soaked grains or sprouted grains. That's what I eat. Now, when you look at my face, hopefully you can figure out that I don't look like I have not eaten since 3 p.m. last night. I mean, yesterday afternoon. I have not eaten anything. I've just had a little bit of water. That's all this morning. And then I have done my yoga. I did 50 Surya Namaskar. I did another hour of yogasan and all that. Everything has been done. Then I took a shower and I came here for the presentation. I have not had any food since 3 o'clock yesterday. Do I look like I'm malnourished? I've not even stopped to drink water. I don't even have water here. There is no need. There is no need to drink at all. There is no need to eat. Unless you are hungry, you should not eat. Unless you are thirsty, you should not drink. That is the rule of life. No other animal does that. Why do we do that? We are supposed to be smarter than all other animals, right? We tell and we say arrogantly that man is the highest creation of nature, or we are better than, we are at the top of the pyramid. But if we behave worse than animals, you see, in the animal world, no animal will eat more than necessary. Have you ever seen an animal eat more than necessary? And after finishing the food, they don't take the remaining food in the carry bag to the house. No. So there is no overeating at all. No animal will eat unless hungry. No animal will overeat. That is number one. That is called gluttony in English. So there is no gluttony in the animal world. Secondly, there is no hoarding. No animal will collect things more than necessary. No animal will collect more things than necessary. And thirdly, no animal will exploit another animal unnecessarily. Okay, there is no rape. There is no balatkar. See, a few days ago, you must have seen a video that was viral on WhatsApp where a small frog gets trapped in a cobweb. And the spider realizes that it cannot eat that frog because the frog emits some kind of toxin and the spider cannot eat it. So the spider releases it. It says, if I'm not able to eat it, why should I kill it? So even the animals don't do that. Why do we do that unnecessarily? So unless we completely forget about gluttony, hoarding, and rape, we don't even become proper animals. See, right now we are living worse than animals, are we not? See, when I consider all of you as my brothers and sisters, because all of us are really born out of this mother earth. This is our common mother. Our body is made of the material that has been on this planet since day one. So we are all born out of mother earth, and our father is common. Father is called life principle, prana. Okay, Jivan. So our parents are common, mother earth and father life. Are we not brothers and sisters? When we live with this understanding, that is when we become truly human. Unless we do that, we are not even animals. Not even animals. So the first step towards realizing this is to make sure that we do not consume anything more than necessary. Whatever is necessary, you consume, no problem. Whatever is needed, we must. Okay. But we should not consume anything more than necessary. And the first step towards that is I shall not eat until I'm hungry. So if you take just one message from this presentation home, that one message will be, I shall not eat unless I'm hungry. Okay. Don't worry about eating natural diet and all that. Just do this one rule for 1 week. Then you will yourself know from within yourself what to eat and what not to eat. And if you want to learn more, by all means, contact and talk to us. So
Okay,
thank you for asking
thank
this
you, sir.
question.
We
So
have
next
another
question.
is from Dr. Anita Patel. Please, ma'am, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Very good evening. Very good evening, sir. That was a wonderful session. Thank you so much for providing us such a informative and innovative session. And I would like to ask, sir, myself, I am a lecturer at one of the college in Kambat, and I am serving as a lecturer in teaching. I'm teaching food and nutrition to the students of undergraduates and postgraduates. So I would like to ask the question that how about organic food, and regarding organic food, what you would like to say? Because nowadays it is very much in fashion, like it has become like people, they are very much attracted with that thing. So how much we should go for it? What you say, that organic food and natural food, what is the
So
difference?
great question. You see, organic food means all food is basically organic. We cannot really eat inorganic food, right? Food means organic. But the way we define organic is we have grown that food without any chemical inputs, without any chemical fertilizers, or without spraying the food with chemical fertilizers or poisonous pesticides. Right?
Exactly, yes.
That
Yeah.
is what we define as organic. If we
Yes.
can get organic food, that is fine.
Mm.
Great, wonderful. You should eat that. Okay, but if you don't worry,
Mm-hmm.
because our body has the natural intelligence to
Mm-hmm.
discriminate between what is good for the body and what is bad for the body. Okay.
Great.
So our body will naturally throw away the pesticides
Synthesize.
and the chemicals from the body.
Okay,
It
so
happens every day. It will happen only when we give the body the chance to do it. I will tell you, see, when we eat our food, for the first about 12 hours or so, the food is
mm-hmm.
digested. The body is busy digesting the food.
Hmm.
Beyond 12 hours, means hour number 13, 14, 15, 16 and beyond, that is when the body actually detoxifies itself.
Yeah,
That is when
right.
the body cleans up. So think of it like if you have an office, or if you are a lecturer in college or a school, whatever. So in that college, if 24 hours a day classes are going on, when will the jamadar come and clean the classroom? He will have no time, no? That is exactly what happens in our body. We keep the body busy all the time. We keep, inviting guests, means food, all the time, and the body is busy tackling the guests. So the guests never leave, and the jamadar never has the chance to come and clean the body. So the detoxification and the body cleaning happens only when we have fasted long enough. So if we fast long enough, you should not be afraid of eating a small amount of pesticide. See, what happens is this world right now has been contaminated beyond our imagination. Beyond our imagination. Even when we
Right.
are breathing, we
Mm-hmm.
are breathing in some toxic material.
Mm.
When will you
Right.
give your body a chance to get rid of it? It can happen only through fasting, and only through fasting. If you don't fast, then this will not happen. All right. So you must fast. If you cannot fast every day, then you'll have to take periodic fast. Then do Ekadashi, you do Chaturthi, whatever.
Yes.
So, but I do Ekadashi almost every day. So most of my food is like Nevedyam. And I fast every day 16 hours anyway. So I don't even worry about when the Ekadashi is because Ekadashi comes and goes. I'm doing the same thing.
It is every day for you.
Every day is Ekadashi. So that's how it is.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
the
Thank you
real
so much.
Upavas, Anita Behan,
Uh,
is I shall not eat unless I'm hungry. That is the real
Exactly.
Upavas.
Exactly. That is the take-home message today.
Correct. Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
wonderful.
Thank you so much for asking the
sir.
question. So what was the next question, Anishji?
Yes, sir. I believe you have already answered it, but I'll repeat it for the audience. Dr. Vanna wants you to tell the audience about regarding the lot of pesticides present in the uncooked food and how could we escape its ill effect.
Okay, great question. Thank you. So uncooked food will have a lot of pesticides. So you have to wash it. See, if you are suspicious about the food, then you wash it in warm water. You soak it in warm water. If you want, you add some soda to it. If you want, you add some potassium permanganate to it. Whatever you want to do to clean it up, you do. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, you do. But in spite of all of that, and even if you don't do any of that, everybody will wash. Nobody's going to eat the food without washing, right? I don't recommend that you eat natural food without washing. Of course, I wash all of my food before I eat. Then whatever pesticide is still left over, that pesticide is washed by our body naturally when we fast. You cannot escape pesticides at all. We cannot. Even if you eat organic food, organic will have organic pesticides, no? It's not that pesticide will not be there. See, pesticides will be there, but our body has to be intelligent enough to know what is good for us and what is not good for us. That intelligence is kept sharp through not indulging. That is called pratyahara and that is called brahmacharya. In yoga practice, both of these are extremely important. If we use our body as an entertainment device, you see, I'll give you the example of cell phone. Our cell phone comes with all kinds of apps, isn't it? It's a smartphone, supposed to be smart. In the case of many people, you will have noticed that the smartest thing about them is their cell phone, right? So in the smartphone, there are hundreds of apps. There are 4 apps that we use all the time. So one is, of course, the phone. Second is internet. Third is SMS. And the fourth, and the worst of all, is called WhatsApp. We are on WhatsApp 24/7, right? So in this case of human body, those 4 apps are called Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya, and Maithuna. These are Sanskrit terms. Ahar means food. That is WhatsApp, 24/7. Nidra means sleep. And Bhaya means a sense of self-preservation or a self-preservation instinct. We are always afraid that somebody is going to hurt me, so I'm going to always protect myself. So it's the self-protection or the self-preservation instinct. You may not do it consciously, but your body will keep doing it all the time. Okay, because the body wants to protect itself, right? So this self-preservation instinct is called bhaya, and maithun means multiplication. So every organism, every living organism wants to multiply. Okay. Even if you don't want to multiply, the cells within your body will multiply. That's how you became 80 kilograms, and I became 80 kilograms. Now I'm 65. How does that happen? See, when we are children, we were not born like this. We did not come out of our mother's womb in this manner, right? We were little babies and we grew. How did we grow? So this multiplication happens naturally. So Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithun, if we are stuck in these 4, then the remaining apps we will not be able to use at all because our phone gets jammed because of these apps, right? So we have to use these apps only to the extent they are necessary, and then the remaining smartphone will work like a smartphone. Otherwise it will work worse than a dumb phone. Then what will happen? See, nature looks at us and it says that, listen, I had given you an aeroplane to fly, all right? In that aeroplane, instead of aviation fuel, you started adding kerosene. Then what will happen? The plane is not going to take off at all. It will simply run on the ground, if at all. And then while running on the ground, what will happen? The plane has all these wings, right? So the wings will hit a tree or a cycle wala or a rickshaw wala. And then we will think that this wing is a hindrance. So then I will cut my wings. And then I will run this aeroplane like the Surat Municipal Corporation bus. Right? So then what will nature say to itself? I have made a mistake by giving you the aeroplane. You are not even fit to drive a municipal corporation bus. Next time I will give you a bullock cart. Then you live in the bullock cart and then you graduate. Then once you learn how to run that, then you learn how to run something else, and you learn how to then you learn how to run something else. That's what will happen. That is exactly how we are living our life right now. Very, very sad. I was in the same boat. That is how I became 80 kilograms, like a sumo wrestler. Completely gone. That man has died long time ago. This is a new person. So this is a brother to you. I'm talking to you like your brother. I'm only sharing my experience with you. I'm not trying to look down upon you. I'm not trying to teach you. You are learning. That is what is happening. I hope my sister Vandana agrees with my answer. मुझसे गुस्सा मत होना प्लीज. ओके, तुम्हें डांट नहीं रहा हूं मैं, तुम्हारा भाई हूं. करेक्ट? अनीश जी, किसका क्या प्रश्न था? और व्हाट अदर? There was one other comment. I think Dr. Prakash Kondekar wants to say something. So why don't we let him unmute himself and say something?
Sure. Dr. Kondekar, please unmute yourself.
Namaskar, Dr. Prakash.
Yeah.
So nice to see you.
Thank you, Dr. Vikram.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me over here. And I just want to say one shloka of Bhagavad Gita, 17th
Please.
chapter, second shloka. Trivida bhavati shraddhaha dehinam svabhavajat rajasi satviki chaiva tamasi chetitam shunu. So these are the three types of diet, because of these three types of personalities are formed. And then it is suggested that which type of food or diet we should go for. So the 8th shloka says, Ayu sattva bala arogya sukha priti vivardhana rasya snigdha sthirarudhya ahara satvika. Satvik ahar, that should be good enough for any type of person, and that should be good for our health. So can you talk on that particular, what type of satvik ahar in this present situation person should take?
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Prakash, for asking that question. We, in fact, share this experience with people through our program, sattva.life, sattv.life. All right. Satvik Ahar is what helps us remain light, remain energetic, and also remain calm. Okay. So we should be engaged in dynamic activity in the world, but we should not engage in that activity with a selfish motive. All right. So any and all food that helps us in that direction is called sattvic food. Also, sattvic food must be eaten in the proper quantity. Otherwise, the same sattvic food will become rajasic, and the same sattvic food will become tamasic. Okay. So, Vinoba Bhave, my favorite author, he says in Marathi, I will say and then I will translate. He says that फलाहार सात्विक खरा, परंतु तो देखील यथेच्छ नको. What it means is, falahar means eating fruits is sattvic. About that there is no doubt. Okay, but even eating fruits should not be yathechha, means to our heart's content. Okay, so if you feel like eating fruits is good for you, but if you overeat all the fruits, then what will happen? You cannot do that. Right? You should eat only to the extent it is necessary for you to eat. That is what we always tell everybody who comes in contact with us is, you should not eat beyond your first burp, because your body is telling you that you have had enough. Even if you eat fruits and nuts, you should make sure that you are eating a limited quantity. And then even if you overeat, say if you have eaten 2 or 3 morsels more than necessary, beyond the half capacity, that's fine. then you fast long enough so that you get really hungry once again. That is the signal. Okay. So the green signal to eat is I'm hungry. And the red signal to stop eating is I'm burping. Right? So if we follow these two signals, of our diet traffic, then there will be no traffic jam. Never. All right. And plus, when I'm eating only what I need, then there is plenty left over for everybody else to eat what they need. That is how nature happens. Nature functions, is it not? No animal. See, even if a tiger eats whatever deer, okay, it will go chase a deer and it will eat it. Right? Once it has eaten whatever it needs, the tiger needs, then the remainder of that food is eaten by jackals and foxes and vultures, all these other animals. And once they are finished, then who will eat? Then ants will eat. Then who will eat? Microorganisms will eat. So the whole food chain is established, but the tiger will sit there and he will relax. After he has eaten, then in front of his eyes, even if a deer is grazing, he will not even blink, let alone move. Even the tiger knows it and the deer knows it. So the deer will eat in front of the tiger after the tiger is finished eating and resting. So that's what happens. So let us learn from nature and let us live at least like proper animals first. And then all of this Gita and Upanishad and everything else will dawn within our own heart. Nobody will have to teach the Upanishad. I have not read the Upanishads. I have not read the Gita. Gita is not by heart to me. I have only learned enough Gita to experience what it says. I have read the Gita. It's not that I have not read, but the way I used to understand Gita at one time, I understand the Gita completely differently now. Now it seems that the Gita is my own story. So the Gita appears in our heart. Each one of us is Arjun, and each one of us has Bhagwan Krishna in our heart itself. Bhagwan Krishna himself says, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mattasmritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrut veda videva chaham. So he says, I am the heart of everything. I am your heart. Okay, that's what he says. And he says, Vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo. So we should realize who we are. Okay, that is the only goal of our life. Whatever helps us towards that goal, the goal is self-realization. The first step towards that is diet purification. Because of diet purification, our mind will get purified. Okay, and through a clear mind, pure heart, the kingdom of heaven will be manifested in our own heart. That's what will happen. Thank you for asking such a wonderful question. Anish ji, if is there any other question?
Okay, sir. There is one last question, and after that we'll be move forward to the conclusion of this session.
Thank you.
The last question is from Sujata Rao ma'am. She is asking, what can we eat during fasting if we feel hungry in between meals?
Okay, so what happens is, once you get used to this pattern, then between meals you don't get hungry at all. So for example, I finished eating at 3 o'clock yesterday, right? I ate between 2:15 and 3 yesterday, 45-minute window. Since 3 o'clock PM yesterday until it's almost 10 o'clock today now, right? How many hours? Almost 19 hours, right? And I'm not really hungry right now. I will eat. See, you will get hungry, but if you don't eat, then the body doesn't stop eating. At that time, the body will go and try to extract things wherever they are stored. So for example, you must have children, right? So if you don't give any food to your child, what will the child do? The child will go into the kitchen and he'll open all kinds of cupboards and cabinets and he will try to find out in which box you have kept the laddus. Then he will go and eat that, isn't it? That is exactly what our body does. If we don't provide the body the food, the body will go and eat all the stored material. First, it will eat all the junk. That is how the body is detoxified through fasting. Okay. So a lot of times See, I should do a completely separate webinar on why we get hungry, how we get hungry. It is connected with our gut microbiome. Okay, we'll do that. So some other time we will do that. But I can assure you that you can get over it. Come and join our 30-day detox program. You will get a phenomenal experience of yourself, of health and well-being. What is health and well-being has to be experienced. I cannot really adequately explain that to you. You can only see my face and you can see that, yeah, I look healthy. But how do I feel from within? How can I explain? You have to experience it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And for the conclusion of the session, I would like to invite Innerville Bharuch President, Mrs. Binni Shah, for the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Hello. Good evening to you all.
Namaste.
Hello. Good evening to all. Thanks to Dr. Vikram. Especially thanks to Dr. Vikram. Very nice information to health and dice purifying. Thanks to Rotary member and Rotary member and our Innerville Club members. And especially thanks to Rotary Club of Bharuch Talkin Zamindar and Rotary Club of Bharuch Secretary Izwana Zamindar to join our club this project, and very nice information. Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
night.
for inviting me here. It has been a pleasure.